Illa? Hari Om. Let's start with a prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanora Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Amadeva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. So we are talking about Karunanidhi, the teacher, and we just chanted a sloka, Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam. So Karunanidhi, essentially, that the scripture is talking about, one who is the most compassionate has to uplift the one who is ready for it. And that's what essentially a teacher is. Guru is essentially Gukara Andakarascha Rusabdatta Nirodaka Andakara Nirodatvad Gururit Abhiyate. So what is Guru? Guru stands for the ignorance, Andakara, darkness, and Rusabdatta Nirodaka, the one who removes the darkness or removes the ignorance, is what Ru means. So Guru is Andakara Nirodaka, one who removes the Andakaram. Andakara means darkness, or the one who removes the ignorance is the one is called Guru. Now we are looking at we completed 32, we'll chant the sloka 33. So in the 33, the Upadesham comes from the Panchakosha Vivekena Labante Nirvrutim Param. So Param Nirvrutim Labante. So by Panchakosha Viveka, by discriminating of 5 koshas, and one gain the supreme. So what is discriminating the five koshas? That we are going to talk about 5 koshas. So here we are going to discuss the 5 koshas. What are the 5 koshas? Just the Annamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, the Manomaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, and Anandamaya kosha. Kosha is actually sheath, where the sword is put in, that's called kosha. So the one that is inside is the sword, and kosha is the outer sheath. That's what essentially kosha is. But here is not a physical sheath, but it is the identification of the mind level, because ignorance is a problem. So we'll discuss how these Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya koshas and Panchakosha Vivekena that he mentioned is, I am not Annamaya kosha, I am not a Pranamaya kosha, I am not a Manomaya kosha, I am not a Vijnanamaya kosha, I am not a Anandamaya kosha, I am that which is innermost of all these koshas, but which pervades everything, is essentially has to be using a discriminative, because Vivekena, Panchakosha Vivekena, Viveka means by using a discriminative intellect I have to discover. Discover means by removing the koshas, covers that I am putting in. So according to the Vedanta, according to the Indian epistemology is 9 of knowledge. The knowledge is always absolute, knowledge is always there. You discover means you remove the cover. Discover is removing the cover. Removing the cover of what? Removing the cover of ignorance that is covering that knowledge. So ignorance is there, the knowledge is there, ignorance as though covering. This, how can it be covered? It is mega payam sumaneva. So in the Atma Bodha, Shankaracharya gives, it is like clouds covering the sun. The clouds are covering the, how can I say, I don't see a sun. In fact, today we cannot see the sun. Why? Clouds are covering the sun. How do you know clouds are covering the sun? I can see what? That clouds are covering the sun. How do you know the clouds are, what do you see? I am seeing the clouds and I don't see the sun. In what light I am seeing the clouds? In the sunlight only. because I don't bring a moonlight because it's the daytime, and in sunlight only. So I am seeing the clouds that are covering the sun, and the sun I cannot see, and the clouds I can see that they are covering. In what light? In the sunlight only. In fact, clouds come because of the sun only. And they are covering now the sun. In the same way, ignorance is also covering the Atma. Because I don't know the Atma, I don't know who am myself. That's why I call Mula Vidya. That's why I don't know myself. And why? Because ignorance is covering. Ignorance has to be removed by a means. Clouds are there, clouds have to be removed by the wind. Then what else I have to do? Nothing to do. Once I remove the clouds, the sun behind the clouds is revealing itself, because sun is of self-shining. So what I had to do is only remove. So a process is required to remove the clouds. Same way, a process is required to remove the ignorance. So scientist discovers, he doesn't invent something, he discovers because it is there. Covering is there, and covering is by through a process of inquiry, vivekena. So essentially, that's what essentially, any truth has to be discovered because it is there already. It has to be discovered because something is covering it. I have to remove the cover, and it is self-shining. Knowledge is self-revealing entity. And that's what essentially is going to be talked about by the Panchakoshas. And therefore, there is a Pranamaya Kosha, there is a Manomaya Kosha, there is a Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha. These are discussed in the Taittiriya Upanishad. So this is essentially Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and they ultimately have to discover the truth, because the Bhrigu was teaching Varuna, says that from which the whole universe came and by which it is sustained, into which it goes back, discover that as a truth. So Bhrigu was asked to inquire, and Bhrigu first goes and inquired. He says it is the jivas are being born, from which everything is born, is because of Annam, and therefore he thinks Annamaya Kosha is the Atma. So he goes, I discovered what? Annamaya Kosha. So no, go back again and inquire. So that was negated, that was not the one, so he had to inquire. So that each kosha he comes up with Annamaya Kosha, then Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha. Ultimately he arrives at the truth, and at that time the teacher keeps quiet. Until then he sends it back, and because he has found out the absolute truth, and absolute truth is beyond the words itself also. We'll see that how that happens here. So now we are going to talk about the 5 koshas and how one has to discriminate. And that process, because he says, by Panchakosha Vivekena Labante Nirvutam Param, one can gain the supreme by discriminating the 5 koshas. He says, I am not this, I am not this, I am not this. That's called Neti Neti Vakyam. One has to discover ultimately that which cannot be negated anymore. I am negating everything else, but I cannot negate myself, because I have to be there to negate myself. That becomes a truth. So what is a truth? Truth is a pathless land. Everybody say, but what exactly is the truth? And how do you define a truth now? And any definition is again a path? No. The Vedanta provides a definition for a truth. What is the truth? Trikala abaditam satyam. That which can never be negated at any time alone is the truth. If I negate not this, then it's not the truth anymore. So if the ring is there, it's not the ring that is there. So if I destroy the ring is gone, but there is something that truth remains, because if truth also gets destroyed, there is not a truth. So that which can never be negated is the truth. So let's go by one to see what happens and how do we negate here. So here first he gives you the summary of all the 5 koshas. Annam prano mano buddhihi, annam prano mano buddhihi, anandaschaiti panchate, anandaschaiti panchate, koshastairavrutas atma, koshastairavruta yatma vismrutya samsrutim rajit vismrutya samsrutim rajit. So annam prana mano buddhi anandasya panchate koshastairavruta swatma vismrutya samsrutim rajit. So koshaha taihi, those koshas, those are 5 pancha koshas are in the order. Avrutam swatma. So these are covering the swatma. One's own self is being covered by the 5 koshas. And swavismrutya, and forgetting that I am of the nature of pure self, and vismrutya samsrutim bhajit. Koshaira avrutam swatma vismrutya samsrutim bhajit. By ignoring my true self and by the forgetting my own, Visnutya means Viti is not there, that means forgetting my own nature. When I forget my own nature, then I take myself what I am not. That means I take the koshas as myself. I am taking Annamaya kosha as myself, Pranamaya kosha as myself, Manomaya kosha as myself, Vijnanamaya kosha as myself, Anandamaya kosha myself, and that's because of I don't know what this self is. So Atma Visrutya, by forgetting my own self, because I know actually I am. Forgetting means not knowing my own true nature. I take myself what I am not as I am. Samsrutim. So what happens? I go through the samsara. Samsrutim means the continuous migration of the soul from one life after life after life, janma to janma to janma, and that's what essentially the avartantarameva, like from one whirlpool to other whirlpool, like a kita, the insect is going. I'm going from one life after life after life, because we don't know how many lives, because it's a beginningless, infinite number of lives are where we have gone through, and we are going to continuously more until we stop this. And even though the beginningless, because beginningless due to avidya is beginningless, but with vidya it can remove it, and therefore once I know it, there cannot be any more misunderstanding. Therefore I recognize myself, and what do I recognize myself? I am the eternal entity and not this koshas at all, and therefore no more janma, no more punarapi maranam, punarapi jananam. So therefore, he has here listed Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, called Buddhi, Anandamaya Cheti, Panchate, and those are the 5 koshas. Now once he defined, now one by one says the Viveka has to be used in order to differentiate the myself from the kosha. That is done from the next slokas on. Syat panchikruta bhutosto, syat panchikruta bhutosto, dehastulanna sangikaha, dehastulanna sangikaha, lingetu rajasai pranaihi, lingetu rajasai pranaihi, prana karmendriyai saha, prana karmendriyai saha. So Syat panchikruta bhutosto dehaha stula anna sangikaha. The stula sariram, which is essentially deham, the body that we are talking about, is called anna sangikaha, is called annamaya kosha. Anna means annamaya kosha. So this is, what is annamaya kosha? That which is born out of food and sustained by food and becomes a food again, that is called annamaya kosha. So that's why the Bhrigu Maharshi thought Annamaya Kosha is what fulfills the definition. What is the definition? Yato va imani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti yat prem sabisham vishanti tad vijnasasva tad brahme. That is Brahman. From what? From which the whole beings are came, by which it is sustained, into which it goes back. All came from Annam, from kind of food. By the parents ate the food, and that's how the sibling, the Jiva, the next generation came, and they live and they are sustained because of the food only. They are sustained by the food, and when they die, they become food for other beings only. So essentially, that is what is Annamaya. Yatova imani bhutani, from which the whole universe came, from which all beings are came, and by which they are sustained, that is Annam, and they are sustained by Annam, and they go back, become Annam. Therefore, Annamaya Kosha is Brahman. That's how the Bhrigu Maharshi thought, until the teacher says, go on, think some more. So what, how do you think? That's what is Panchikruta Viveka is required. So here, Syat Panchikruta Bhutosto Deha Stula Anna Sangikaha. So Anna Sangika, the Annamaya Kosha is essentially made up of this. So he is defining there are 5 kosha: Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Annamaya Kosha, and the Vijnanamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha, the Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. These are 5 koshas. So what is the kosha here is being defined now. What is Annamaya Kosha? This Sthula Sariram, the gross body, Idam Sariram, that's how you say. This Idam that can be pointed out as a gross one is Syat Panchikruta Bhutastaha, is formed of Panchikruta Bhutam. Panchikruta means the Bhutas, Pancha Bhutas formed out of Panchikrutam. That means by the division and recombination. That's what we said. The subtle elements divided into half, and each half divided into 4 parts and redistributed. That's what we defined as Panchikaranam, and that's called grossification. And the grossification, after that you have gross 5 elements, Bhutaha, and this body is made up of Panchabhutas. So these are called 5 elements are there. Our space is there, lot of space is there inside the body, space, and the air is there. It's always bloated. A lot of people have a lot of air, ego, and the air and fire. It's the temperature, and the jalam. It's full with the jalam, and the earth, matter also. So all 5 elements are there, and this is called Panchabhuta. And I take myself, I am this body. That's what is the kosham now. So I am, I don't know, but I am identifying with the Deham Sthulam, which is the gross body, as I am. Why? Because the Dehe Pushte, Aham Pushti. When the body is fat, I am fat. When the body is lean, I am lean. When the body is having pain, I am having a pain. That means I am identifying with the Sthula Sarira, the modifications of the Sthula Sarira, as a child, as an adolescent, and as an adult, and as I am getting old. So body is continuously changing, and therefore I am also changing. I am getting old. And I was a baby before, I am getting old. All this because identification with the Annamaya Kosha. So so that identification is the bondage. The body is not a bondage. Body is because it's a nature is given for transacting in the world. So this Dehe Sthulam Anna Sangikaha, it's called Annamayam. So when it's born out of food, but it becomes a Tanmayam. When I'm identifying myself with the body, then it's called Annamaya Kosham. And that is born out of Panchako, which is called the Panchabhutaihi, Panchikarana Bhutai, that is essentially the Tamo Guna. And next is Lingaitu Rajasai Pranaihi prana karmendriyai saha. So linga itu rajasa. So because of the rajoguna, so this is pranamaya kosha. Next level is called pranamaya kosha, is being defined. It is the linga seriram. It is a sushma seriram that starts with the prana and karmendriya saha, along with karmendriyas. Karmendriya means this walk, pani, padav, upasta. The five, the speech, the hands, the legs, and the genital organs and the reproductive organs, excretor organs and the reproductive organs. And these are the five aspects of it. That is essentially the pancha, what is pancha? Karmendriyas. And prana means pancha prana, prana, panam, yana, udana, samana. These pancha pranas all are part of the rajogunam. So rajoguna aspect of the linga sarira. Linga sarira includes manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha also. But here talking about only that part of it that's born out of rajas, which is essentially is involved with the pranas, five pranas, because there is always movement, action is there, and karmendriya is the organs of action, they are involved in the prana kosha. So that part of pranamaya. So when I I'm having a breathing problem, and I'm having the excretion problem, I'm having this problem, that problem related to the pranamaya kosha, or my hands are not working, I am not able to do, I am not able to walk. All that is because my legs are not able to walk, because I am identifying myself with the linga sariram, which is pranamaya kosha. And that's what essentially pranamayam is defined. Satvikair indriyai sakam, vimarshatma manomayaha, taireva sakam vijnana, mayodhir nischayatmika. Together, satvikair indriyai sakam, vimarshatma manomayaha, taireva sakam vijnana mayodhir nischayatmika. So now he is defining the manomaya kosha and vijnanamaya kosha. So satvikaihi, born of the sattva guna, because they are part of the knowledge is involved. So the indriya means jnana indriya. So now pancha, five jnana indriyas, that means the sabda sparsa rupa rasa gandha, the five senses that I can sense, those are called jnana indriyas, through which I can gain the knowledge of the world. So this way satvikair indriyaihi sakam, along with vimarshatma manomayaha, along with the doubting mind, that means the mind which is of the nature of the doubt. So samsayatmikam, that which is the thought type of thing, is manomayam. All together is called, comes under manomaya kosham. So manomaya kosha involves mind plus the five jnanendriyas together is the manomaya kosha. So he defined the manomaya kosha. He defined the annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, and manomaya kosha. Taireva sakam vijnanamayaha dhir nischayatmikaha. So vijnanamayam consists of the buddhi and taireva sakam, along with the five jnanendriyas again, or together is the vijnanamayam. Nischayatmika. This dhi is different from the manomayam. Says vimarshatma manomayam, which is of the nature of doubting type, vimarshatma, whereas here nischayatma, it's not a doubt, it is a determinative knowledge. So it is a definitive knowledge. It says this is it, that is it, so on. All the mathematics and all the science are in that level of nischayatma. This is definitely this. That determining knowledge is the buddhi. So he has defined two more koshas here, Previously he defined the Annamaya Kosha and Pranamaya Kosha. We define now the Manomaya Kosha and Vijnanamaya Kosha, or the intellectual sheath. Now he has defined the fifth one, which is essentially Anandamaya Kosha in the next sloka. Sloka 36. Karane Sattvamananda, Karane Sattvamananda, Mayo Modadi Vruttibihi, Mayo Modadi Vruttibihi, Tat Kosha Tadatmyat, Tat Kosha Tadatmyat, Atma Tanmayo Bhave, Atma Tanmayo Bhave. Together, Karane Sattvamananda, Mayo Modadi Vruttibihi, Tat Kosha Vruttibihi, Tat Kosha Tadatmya, Atma Tanmayo Bhave, Atma Tanmayo Bhave. Out of Tat here. So Karane, in the causal body, Sattvam, Anandamayo Modadi Vruttibihi. So Anandamayam, it's called Anandamaya Kosha, and Modadi Vruttibihi. So Priyam, Modam, Pramodam, these are called the degrees of happiness in the Anandamaya Kosha. In the Anandamaya Kosha, I say I am happy, I am happier, and I am the maximum happiness. And these are essentially degrees of happiness, and that are defined in the Taittiriya Upanishad. Actually, defines the degrees of happiness also, and that is called the prema, not prema, priyam. That's called Priyam, Modam and Pramodam. These are the three degrees of the happiness. So Modadi means Priyam, Modam, Pramodam. Adi, Vruttibihi, they are as though thoughts, and these are called Anandamaya. These are reflected happiness that are coming in the Anandamaya Kosha. Tattat Koshaistu Tadatmyat Atma Tat. So here he defined in the first line, he defined what is the Karana Sarira or Anandamaya Kosha. Anandamaya Kosha is same as causal body, and is only when the Anandamaya Kosha alone it's called the Karana Sarira. But in the other times, along with the Anandamaya in the waking state, I am Anandamaya Kosha is there, Vijnanamaya Kosha is there, Manomaya Kosha is there, Pranamaya Kosha is there, as well as the Annamaya Kosha is there in the waking state. And in the waking state, all the five koshas are active, and in that, when I get a happiness, there is an intensity of happiness, and the happiness part is coming from Anandamaya Kosha. So that Anandamaya Kosha, as their happiness is intensity of happiness that one gains in the world, is essentially can be classified under 3 degrees. It says Priyam, Modam and Pramodam. Is of the nature of Vritti, as the thought is defining. It is essentially a reflected happiness here, and that's what is called the Pratibimba Ananda. And each one is a kosha by itself, and one, when tattat koshastu tadatnyat, tattat, in each one kosha, that means Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha, I identify with particular kosha. Even though all koshas are there, I particularly identify with one or the other at some times, one or more also. So when I am hungry, I am identifying with my Pranamaya Kosha, and when I am hurt, when I am having a pain in my leg and with my knees, then I am identifying, say I am having a pain, and when I say I am identifying with the Annamaya Kosha. So all these things need to be understood. So tattat kosha is to tadatmya, by identifying each one of the koshas. Atma tat tanmayo bhave. Atma gets identified with Here Tanmaya is identified with each of the koshas. So why it identifies itself? Because I don't know myself. How does this identification occurs? So Swami Chinmayananda used to give a simple example. You know, I had a very scrumptious, all 5-course lunch, heavy lunch, and then says I want to relax. So I sat in front of sitting in a comfortable chair and turned the TV on, and suddenly some movie is going on, and I liked that movie, so I started watching the movie. Who am I? I am already eaten completely food, I am full, I am just relaxing, so I'm lying down and watching the movie there. And the movie is very serious movie, so I got entangled in the movie, and suddenly I started crying because the hero, heroine are starving there, and they are in the hot sun and running around being chased by the villains, and they're trying to save their skin and running around, and I am actually sweating and hungry, all that. Just now I ate full food, and I'm sitting in the air-conditioned room comfortably in the lazy boy chair. They have lazy boy chairs. I don't know if they are here in India or not, but at least in the States, I have my own lazy boy chair where after eating I just lie down and you can relax, and you don't need a different bed. It itself forms a semi-bed where you don't have to lie flat. At the same time, since you are food, you are not supposed to lie flat. So I have my own lazy boy chair in States. But anyway, but when I'm watching it, I identify myself so intensely with the characters, the hero and heroine, and I am crying and I am sweating, and even though I am sitting in an air-conditioned room comfortably with all the food and all that. So when I identify myself with anything, I take the problems of that as my problems. That's what I'm trying to arrive at. So even though I'm full and all that comfortable in AC, because the identification with the hero, heroine in the movie, and they are in the forest in the hot sun, therefore I'm also sweating even though I'm in the AC room. Because my mind is so much intensely identified, I am so much involved with the characters. In the same way, when I identify myself with the Annamaya Kosha, problems of the Annamaya Kosha are superimposed on myself, and the problems belong, say their problem becomes my problem. This is the same way, identification, as you remember, the mother and the baby. Baby may having a physical pain, but mother identifies with the baby so intense, and even though she doesn't have the physical pain, she suffers a lot. She has a mental pain also by identification. Baby may not have mental pain, mental suffering, it may be physically suffering, but mother suffers more because of the identification. So identification makes one to suffer. So what should I do? De-identify. And that's what called attachment. Attachment is identification. I can solve the problem by de-identifying what need to be done, has to be done. So therefore, love can be there. I need not have attachment. Therefore we said love is different from attachment. So anyway, here when I am attached, I depend on somebody other than myself. That's called attachment. Love is I let others to depend on me. I don't depend on anybody for my happiness, but I let others need some shelter, so they depend on me, so I let them depend on me because they are getting some happiness out of me. But I don't depend upon them, means I don't have expectations of anything from anybody. Then I am free because I am full by myself as I am. So if you don't expect yourself, you are full by yourself. So here, Atma Tatta Tanmayo Bhave. So intense identification, because identification with other people is only because of the association. We identify with the house, we identify with the bank balance, we identify with everything, including a chair and a vessel on top. Everything you start identifying. And even the stones that you collect, you start identifying. And if a stone is lost, you cry because you lost a lot of things as though it's only the stone. And there's a husband and wife. This is Swami Paramananda used to tell a story. A husband and wife are want to get detached and taking essentially sannyasa or something and renouncing everything, and suddenly husband was going in India. Husband goes forward and the wife follows. So when the husband is going, suddenly he saw a diamond on the road. So he was worried that his wife may see diamond, and he knows that his wife was very much attached to the diamonds, so he didn't want her to see diamond, so he put a leg there to cover it so that she doesn't see it. So wife saw that. So he says, "What are you covering?" "Oh, nothing, nothing." "No, I know you're covering." Says he lifted his, he says, "Diamond, why are you covering it?" "So I thought you will be getting attached to it." And whether I am attached or not, you are already attached, because you are very fact that you are differentiating the diamond and the stone, and you are covering it thinking that I get attached, you are attached, getting attached. So question of who is attached. So the discrimination is not, has to be understood. Discrimination is not a physical discrimination. So a diamond is a diamond, and a ring is a ring, and a stone is a stone. So you don't define, diamond has to be seen as a diamond only. Gold has to be gold, and the iron is a gold. There is no confusion there. And just as a scientist doesn't get confused just because he knows everything is electron, protons and neutrons, he still treats a delicious food as a delicious food, and a garbage is a garbage. There is no confusion. Just because you are an Advaitin, you don't get confused. At the transactional level, you can discriminate, that require discrimination, because the food is a food and the garbage is a garbage. You don't put the garbage in the refrigerator and the food throw out. So there is no confusion there. What is discrimination is at the intellectual level. That's why he said vivekena, panchakosha viveka. Viveka is intellectually discriminating, while transactionally you don't have to discriminate. Where intellectually I know what is right and what is wrong, what is important, what's not important. That has to be discriminated at that level. So it is only cognitively I have to disaffiliate that I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the pranas, I am not the intellect, I am not even Ananda kosha, even though I use all the koshas. So I don't have to separate myself with any of the koshas. While using the kosha, and he says, without any gratitude for that, I can use the koshas, because it's given as a God, but God has provided that one for me to use it. At the same time, not identify myself, but at the same time, identify enough to take care of it. If the body has a problem, don't say, "Oh, body has a problem, I don't have a problem." If body requires a fever or something, you have to go to a doctor and get the body fixed. Just as a car is having a problem, take it to garage and get it fixed, so that you can use the car to go from one place to other place. Same way, body can be used to go one place to other place. So one should not get confused with the transactional reality versus the understanding at the cognitive level. So we are talking about viveka. Viveka means at the cognitive level one has to discriminate. That is called viveka. Viveka means discriminative intellect is required to say what is real and what is not real, and give importance to the reality, and otherwise not real is only transactionally real. Use it for transactions needed for transactions. So you don't have to renounce what is to be needed for transactions also. So Atma Tat Tanmayo Bhavet. So renunciation is only by the close by you put, but you cannot renounce the body, you cannot renounce the mind, you cannot renounce any of the thing. You have to use it as long as the prarabdha is there, body, mind, intellect is there, you have to use it. And therefore tat kosha istu tadatmyat atma tat tanmayo bhavet. So identification with the kosha is a problem. De-identify while using the koshas also. That becomes a knowledge, and that becomes a... Now he's talking about how do I declutch myself. I said using logic properly. So here we are talking about using logic only in order to differentiate. I am not this, but I am something else. So viveka, logic is required here. So he goes here in the next sloka. We just chant and get the meaning, and then we'll discuss it tomorrow. Anvaya vyatireka bhyam Anvaya Vyatireka Panchakosha Vivekataha Panchakosha Vivekataha Swatmanam Tata Udhrutya Parabrahma Prapajyate Param Brahma Prapajyate. Together. Anvaya Vyatireka Panchakosha Vivekataha Swatmanam Tata Udhrutya Param Brahma Prapajyate. So Anvaya Vyatireka so by the technique of Anvaya Vyatireka. So what is Anvaya Vyatireka? And we will discuss that. Panchakosha Vivekataha. So the 5 sheets and Viveka by discrimination of the 5 keys using the Anvaya Vyatireka logic. So Atmanam. So one's essential self. Tataha from those, all that from the sheets. Udhrutya, and recognizing that, discriminating that by using the Anvaya Vyatireka, what is myself and what is not self. And Udhrutya, that means one lifting above from these attachments. Parabrahma Prapajyate, one attains the supreme reality. So using Anvaya Vyatireka logic here, Panchakosha Vivekata, by discriminating these 5 sheets using the discriminative intellect, Swatmanam Tata Udya, one has to uplift oneself, and Parabrahma Prapajyate, one has to attain the supreme self or supreme reality or supreme the infiniteness. This is this statement here. So there are several aspects are involved. So first just what is Anvaya Vyatireka? Anvaya Vyatireka is when there are 2 things and we do not know which one depends on what, because there are things always occurring together. We are not talking about 2 unrelated things here. We are talking about 2 related things, and we want to know which is independent and which is dependent here. We use the Anvaya Vyatireka logic. So simple example is, the classical example is ring and the gold. So ring is different from a gold. At the same time, we have a ring and gold together. So we have to use a ring and the gold as Anvaya Vyatireka. So one is, the other is. When there is a ring is there, the gold is. So one is, the other is. So this is called Anvayam. Means one is, both are there. Both are there together is, when they are together, it becomes Anvayam. Now we have to find a situation where one is not there and other is there. That's called Vyatireka. Vyatireka, when both are not there, it's Vyatireka. But Vyatireka is where one is there, where other is not there, then one is more real and the other is less real. So in this gold and the ring, when the ring is, gold is, and when we go, suppose we melt that ring and make something else. So now ring is not there, but gold is still there. So we have one which doesn't undergo a change, whereas the other is not there. It is there together in one time, in one state, in another state. This one is not there, but the other one is there. That means one is more permanent, other one is less permanent. One is dependent and is independent. If they are interdependent nature, because the ring and the gold, they are not 2 entities here. They are not samyoga sambandha. They essentially, ring itself is gold, or gold in the form of a ring only. One is more real than the other because it came from the ring and sustained by the ring, and it goes back into the ring. Ring is only a form, and form is an attribute. Form is an attribute, and we gave a name for the form, and this form with all the attributes, the rest of the attributes, we call it as a ring. Same gold in that, with those attributes of the shape, we call it a ring. Same gold in a different attribute, we give it different name. So it is one with a different attribute you contain, you give different names. So nama and a rupa are going together. So ring is different from a bangle. Utility of the ring is different from a bangle. But ring and gold, anvaya vyatireka abhyam. So anvaya vyatireka logic I can use. I don't have to melt ring. ring, intellectually, cognitively, I can say that gold is real and ring is only name and a form. How did I come up with? Anvaya Vyatireka logic. That is what is Viveka. Viveka is that which is more real and that which is less real. I have to distinguish by differentiation, by intellectually, cognitively I can distinguish. We'll go into more details of this Panchakosha Viveka, how Anvaya Vyatireka logic helpful to discriminate the five koshas and arrive at Swatmanam Tataha Udrutya Parabrahma Prapajyate. How can we realize? So now we have to use as we are talking, as we are discussing, we have to uplift our mind to that, to discriminate what is that has to be understood. What is that Atma? With this we stop here and we will take the Sloka 30th tomorrow. We will stop here. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hmm? 44. Oh, that's good.